Well, welcome to another question and answer.
Yeah, Ma, I'm here for another 2 hours. I don't know what this guy's talking about this week. I hope he gets it over quick. Long-winded. Yes.
This
That's
is
the
our
word.
ADHD segment starring Jimmy as the ADHD
Oh, I'm sorry.
guy.
Yeah, we're live.
Well, you pull that on us. We didn't know he was going to do that. All of what you see is a lot of ad lib here. This non-script, in case you haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. We haven't got anybody to hold the cue cards left, so this is
No.
where we are.
They're union, so we can't have them in here. Oops.
Oh, wait a minute now. Oh, back up here a second. There's a Upholstery union.
Oh, there is, I think. Local AFL-CIO, I think.
Probably. They'll be picketing your house pretty soon.
Well, anyhow, we love unions. And Jimmy is here, and Jimmy finished his chair today.
Thank God.
And it's something came up that was very interesting for you guys. I just wanted to get right into it, but Jimmy will talk about his chair. I want him to show off the chair a little bit later. But he did some on the outsides. He did hand stitching, a combination of hand stitching and ply grip.
Yes.
And he had an easier time stitching around curves on the wings, which you would think would be harder to do than the outside. It only had a small curve, but the difference was, I call this today trials and tribulations of a three-way stretch.
Well, you mentioned the fabric,
And
I'm still trying to understand how the fabric is. I know that there is more give with regard to some fabrics versus others. I've done some stitching in the past, so it's been a few years.
Right.
But
today you had a harder time.
yes, I don't know why. I think it was because of the fabric, like you say.
We had to jump in and show you why, and why it was really hard. So some fabrics really test your skill, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a fabric that's a really hard fabric to use, because then you're building on your skills when you have a fabric like that. But it can be awfully frustrating, especially when you don't know why it's happening. So Jimmy had already stitched the fabric. He was familiar with the stitch and the fabric. But then when it came to the outside, we had blind tacked one side down. That meant that he could only stretch three sides, the opposite side and the up and down. That made a huge difference on how he stitched it. I actually had to jump in because I saw why you were having the trouble, and it really required a little bit of problem solving even by me to finish the stitching up on it.
I mean, again, like I say, the first time I did it, I grasped onto it. It may have been the fabric, may have been just the first time, rookie, getting into it.
Yeah.
But this time, again, it's a few years, and again, the fabric started moving around because of the.
So we're always surprised that that's what I like about upholstery is, as a professional upholsterer, you have different pieces of furniture, different styles, different curves, different angles, and the different fabric. There's countless combinations when you throw in the fabric, and then patterns, if you have to do patterns.
Right.
That's a third element. So that's what's the challenging part of upholstery. So what happened today, so if you're looking at this wondering why we're doing this, why are they doing the question and answer, if you're new to the question and answer, or if you haven't bought the online classes, this is exactly why we do it. We really dissect the process down, right?
Well,
and then we find things like this. We find, this was new to me today. I realized, I was watching you, sitting back watching, why is he struggling so much today? And darn it, if it wasn't the fact that you couldn't stretch where we had it blind tacked.
Okay.
You couldn't stretch that way, because once you blind tack, you're committed to the blind tack. So in retrospect, I probably would have done the whole thing with the ply grip. Because you did one side was a dream with the ply grip.
Yes, that was great, and it's a good lesson to learn because, actually, I think this is only my second or third time doing the ply grip.
Yeah, you actually do the ply grip very well. Ply grip's hard to get used to for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, you have to be exact. You got to know it's lining it up at the edge, and of course, the other question I was going to have for you, even though we did do the stitching on top, was how you did how you would do an entire back of ply grip, because it's not going to be one continuous.
No, it can't. You have to, the intersections or the transitional points are the important part. You did the bottom piece. You can get an idea. You did the bottom, and you can get an idea how the other one would come to it. One side has to be the folded side, and then the other side's the tuck side. That's pretty much it. But it's hard to explain. It's better to show it. Actually, if people buy this show, the Wing Chair show, which will be ready when, Patrick, in the spring?
Late winter, early spring.
So let's talk a little bit about the online classes. We've got a very popular class, it's the French settee, Jimmy. And
that was a lot of work for us.
that was a lot of classes, but then we did the shellback, and the shellback hasn't been as popular for some reason.
I'm surprised because you and I
We were asked to do that forever.
Yes, and I had suggested how about something a little bit different. We had done the ottoman, we had done it straight, and I said, well, maybe we should do like a wing chair or something,
Right.
channel back. And I had done a channel back a few years before
Right,
for my sister.
right.
And I said, oh, maybe we can bring that back and do a lesson on it. And lo and behold, but
Maybe there aren't as many shellback chairs out there as I thought there were.
I think when you see, again, when I was looking for it online, I didn't see something for weeks, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Wing chairs, though, however, they're everywhere.
Actually, I saw one on the way over here,
In the trash?
out in the sidewalk.
Oh, that's sad. And
It
you just
said,
went by
"Take
it?
me."
It did say take me on it?
Take me, yes.
And you just went right by
I had
it.
to, I had to look the other way.
An, an orphan wing chair you just left there.
You know, I felt bad.
Oh.
I felt bad. I almost teared up there for a second.
Well, you can only do so much.
I
could
say, will
always-
Kevin take this home?
Probably not.
Probably not.
So we have the online classes. This is a live question and answer. So if anybody has question and answer, please a question and an answer. I guess.
Yes, anything to interrupt Kevin from speaking. Thank you.
Well, actually, it's funny. In our comment section, a lot of times my upholstery friends out there will answer a question on
You
the
will.
comments.
Thank God you have upholstery friends, Garrett.
I know.
Randy,
Otherwise, it'd be none.
Randy is still waiting for probably a trip from us.
Hmm.
I think we could do that in the early spring.
Right.
Since Patrick will be working on this class to
Yeah.
edit it all 15 lessons, right? 15
I
lessons,
understand
yeah.
he's going to give you some wings as kind of like the thumbnail.
I don't know which one of you clowns is out of this for me. Unbelievable.
Well, the last time we
The
had
marketing things, you guys obviously didn't do marketing well in school or something.
it's funny you should say that. On the most popular class, the 1860s chair, he's got
That's a YouTube video, not a class.
That's one of my YouTube. That was one of my favorite ones because he has a thumbnail of the old Western town, and because we had done some research on that to find that was from Kansas City around the 1880s. So it was about the time of the Wild West and people roaming
I
around
can
with.
see you, Wyatt Burp. Yeah,
You just called me Wyatt Burp.
I can't. I'm trying to picture you as a character in like Tombstone, but
Well, if you were a character in Tombstone, who would it be, Jimmy?
I don't know.
Doc Holliday?
Val Kilmer. I always liked Doc Holliday. It was,
Yeah, he was good in that.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you
should have gotten an Oscar for that, I think.
He was really good in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That scene when he said, wasn't it him that said, "I'll be your Huckleberry"?
Yeah, it comes right off.
Oh
It
boy,
stood
that
right
was
up
scary,
there.
wasn't
I'm
it?
like, oh, here we go.
Maybe somebody will discover you in the town that you starred
Yeah,
in.
and they'll put me in a western with some unknown character like Clint Eastwood, maybe.
Do you know how to ride a horse?
Well, I could learn. I mean, I'm willing.
Well, whatever you do,
I am willing to learn.
be honest with what you say when somebody says to you, "What type of rider you are? Are you a beginner? Are you advanced beginner? Are you intermediate? Are you advanced intermediate? Or are you professional?" Don't, to impress a girl, say that you're intermediate or anything above that, because you'll be sorry.
Yeah, I'm an equestrian major. Yes, I've been doing it for the last 10 years. I go to school and I teach on the side. And of course, here I go.
This is upholstery related, by the way, because we use horsehair, So we're trying to keep to the upholstery theme. So all these
I'm
people
sure she's going to get
in,
a lot of interest in that. Yeah.
For all these people who are tuned in and say, when are they going to start talking about upholstery? Now's the time, right, Patrick?
Yep, I want to say
And then the real
Leslie's here, Randy's here,
Well, and then the real
Sarah's here.
show starts now. That's what we're doing.
They're all here in spite of
Sarah
Jimmy.
just signed up for the tub chair class. Missed you guys, but MIA while working on some other projects. Happy to be back in my DIY shop. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. And we're
Randy
here.
says take a trip in August to visit for Irish Fest in Milwaukee.
Ooh,
Oh.
there you go.
Oh,
All the
August.
cheese you can eat.
Oh, baby. Oh.
So we only have one Facebook, Patrick?
Yeah, we did the other ones last week, right? Or no?
But this is a long one, and this is interesting because I think somebody really dove into the upholstery world, and she's got so many questions, and and I'm going to try to answer them. This is like having 10 Facebook
Here's
submissions.
an opportunity for you. What about a week hanging out with Kevin Kennedy and, you know.
Is this
upholstery?
door number 1? Door
Yeah,
number
door-
2 is Jimmy on a cow. Door number 1 is
Actually,
Kev-
you know what? I could be the guy. I could be Alex Karras in Blazing Saddles,
There you go.
right?
What's behind door number 3? That has to be a good one, a good showcase, because you already got the
I
jokes
mean,
showcase.
something really interesting, like what? Like dinner in a red?
Upholstery related. I got an idea. How about
God almighty.
an all-paid trip to Paris, France, to learn under a master French upholsterer how to do a settee underneath an outdoor class underneath the Eiffel Tower. This all can be yours if you guess the price is right.
God.
Anyhow,
You haven't gotten off those drugs yet. We just,
Jimmy, this could be your last day here.
I know. Is that why that check is being handed? It was handed to me before the show.
I don't think it's gonna be that easy.
You're not gonna get rid of us that easy.
Oh damn.
So we're gonna get
Well,
to the
I mean, you're coming to the house still for Thanksgiving, Christmas, right?
next Christmas with
Next-
my
Leave the kids at home.
yeah.
You're gonna leave the kids at home because you already paid for their Christmas meal twice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that very expensive Brazilian restaurant.
should have gone Chinese. I think it would have been a little bit.
They give you little
That's what you're gonna
tweezers
see.
where they're cutting the meat off the bone or whatever it is, and
Off
they're
the rack.
standing there and they cut it, and you got these little tweezers. You're supposed to grab the meat, and I missed twice. I embarrassed those guys. The meat.
Wow.
Where do you think the meat fell? Right on the ground.
I even warned you too.
Finally, the guy says, "Let me come around the other side," because he was on my left, and finally I got the
okay.
hang of
Well,
it. But 2 pieces of
You're not
filet.
used to. Well, I thought they actually. No, they did do it on the table. I remember now. I'm trying to.
I'll
Remember.
tell you, it was quite an experience. If anybody wants a real, is this a traditional Brazilian restaurant, Patrick, or what is it?
I've asked my friends that. I'm not sure.
I believe that's how they do it.
They claim that it's not as good as over there.
Wow.
Well,
over
I
there
mean-
must be really good.
Let me tell you, Jimmy, you wouldn't be able to eat all the meat that they come with.
No, I'm sure they don't. I mean, I'm sure it's quite the.
I'm sorry to point out. Just 3 seconds ago, you said now it's time to talk about upholstery.
And he goes back. Actually,
It was the image of him on the cow behind door number 2 that got me thinking of the meat. See how distracted you get me, Jimmy?
oh, we'll never have. No wonder why we don't have anybody watching this show.
Just 3 seconds.
Well, anyhow, Facebook. Let's
Yes.
get to the Facebook.
Let's get to the.
First,
get to the story.
I have to ask you: have you been doing a good job of
I
allowing?
haven't signed up anybody in a couple of weeks.
I think he's missing it, Patrick. I saw 2 or 3
I
people
think
in
we've
there.
been doing it before you. That's why, Jimmy.
Okay.
Okay, but
Because I will see them and I'll say, oh, okay. Here I get up early in the morning. I say, oh, okay. So and so's looking to get interested.
so we're moving him to the smaller office down the hall, and then
Yeah.
and then the other
one
half,
with-
and then the
the
broom
one-
closet.
the one with the socket where it works once in a while when you got to jiggle it.
And then before long, the pink slip.
Yeah, yeah. So if you start seeing those things, yeah, I know that's what it's coming.
Yeah, why are you taking administrative duties away from Jimmy, Patrick? No, you're just kidding. We're just kidding, Jimmy. That's not true. All right, Sonia. She
Is this a woman with a story?
Facebook. She's got a lot of questions, and Facebook is where people. I told her. I think she contacted me direct, and I said one of your best sources is Facebook, with all the other people that are on there that are friends who have watched us, and they really give good advice. And I think I don't know. I can't read the comments that she got on Facebook because I don't see them here, but I'm sure people helped her out, and that's what that is all about. That forum.
Yes.
And you once in a while jump in there and give some good advice, and very
Yes.
rarely do I feel as though I have to jump in. There is one thing though here that I think somebody commented on the yardage that I'll get to that. It's at the bottom of her questions, but
And everybody should remember too. We always answer. If you don't see us comment on the post on there, because we always answer it during the live show. So you'll.
and
be-
here's the answer. So the first time she says, first time upholsterer here, I rescued this love seat from being thrown out. Do you have that up there, Patrick?
I don't. You should show
And
us.
I'm going to attempt to reupholster it. I have some newbie questions. Can you see that, Patrick? Is that
A little bit lower.
Something
A little bit closer. There we go.
And the questions are, what kind of staples should I buy? I use the Empire, but again, I want to remind people, if they like us, they want to support us, please go to Upholstery on Broadway, on our website, and we have a full array of upholstery supplies that I've handpicked. So Empire is the name, Empire. And staples are really an important part of your work. It's easy to get a bad staple. People don't realize this. I think Randy and I talked about this a little bit at one of our segments. Staples sometimes can come with too much. There's a little glue that they put on it.
You mentioned that.
But if too much glue, it's going to jam your gun.
Yes.
It's got to be the right amount of glue. And only a good company will do that. And the other thing is, they come in 3 different sizes, 3/8, ½ inch, and 1/4. And for instance, this says precision engineered. That's it. And it's it's for the BEA gun mainly. It's precision engineered for that gun. And that gun is one of the better guns available, the BEA, which we have also on the website if you guys want to check it out, Upholstery on Broadway. And then she says, I know most people seem to use 3/8 inch staple, but I'm seeing some labeled as upholstery staples. Is that just marketing? Probably.
So what would you use a 1/4 inch staple for?
1/4 inch staples are usually used on finished wood bottoms of dining room chairs usually, or panels when you're doing a cardboard panel on the front of a chair.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the staple to go through the panel.
Right.
So those are at least 2 that I could think of right off the bat, 2 times. I don't use them a lot, but I have them handy, just in case.
Okay.
Randy says, when you find a brand that works in your gun, don't change brands.
Yeah.
No. No, actually, I think probably the gun would get used to what you have.
Then she gives some websites, but I'm just so sold on the staples that I offer on the website. I think are the best because I've been through this, and Randy's been through it too. So then she says, I don't have a compressor. I plan to use an electronic staple. I think she means electric, right?
Oh yeah, there are electric guns out there.
I'll tell you the problem. I've talked about this before, you guys, and I think you upholsterers who have tried an electric staple gun. The problem is the gun is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's heavy. It's probably twice as heavy or 3 times as heavy as a regular pneumatic gun or the BEA gun.
Right.
And you'd be surprised at what a difference a heavy gun does. And the worst thing about it, that's one bad thing about it. I don't like them,
Okay.
as you can tell. The other bad thing is that every time you press, you're putting an impulse through your hand and up your arm. And I don't like that. An electrical pulse.
Okay.
There's a pulse.
Okay.
And it makes that noise. And I just don't like it. The pneumatic gun is a much more streamlined way of doing it. And the thing about the electric, the difference between electric and pneumatic as far as the gun goes, the hammer part of the gun is what should be doing all the work. And the air's forcing that gun. It's just all of the pressure is on the hammer part on a pneumatic gun.
Mm-hmm.
But on an electric gun, it's coming through the cord and it's going through the whole machine in order to get that to react.
Do you get as much force behind it?
I'd say it's about the same 80 pounds of pressure as the pneumatic gun.
Okay.
But the other problem, too, with the electric guns is that they tend to jam up much easier than the pneumatic guns, because I just don't think it's I just don't think it's a good system at all.
Okay.
You know, you're trying to drive a smaller staple. It's not like you're driving, a big, like a Brad even. A Brad would go easier. But these staples, because they're double pronged, they're a little harder to, I think, pull it off. It's the pneumatic gun and the pneumatic.
Mm-hmm.
The compressor doesn't matter so much as long as it's drawing 80 pounds. It does matter about noise levels, though, on a compressor. But as long as it's drawing the 80 pounds, it's the gun that's important, the pneumatic gun that's important. And you could go, she mentions here, she goes on to say, what side cutters pliers do you recommend, Jimmy? Maybe you could speak on that.
Well,
you want to grab a pair over there?
these are new to the shop.
Jimmy donated A pair, 2 pairs. Thank you, Jimmy.
But these are spring loaded. These are the other ones that I have.
So I took the spring out of mine that you gave me.
Oh, you did?
I don't like the spring loaded, but I take them out and they're fine. Is that
Okay.
the one I took out?
No, this is not.
You gave us 3, didn't you?
I gave you 3. Yeah.
The one at the shop, I took the spring load out.
Yeah. I didn't. Well, you know what? They did not
Can I
say
see that for a
that.
second? Yeah, it's easy to take the spring load out,
Okay.
but I don't like the fact I got that extra problem to deal with.
Right.
I'm so used to kicking it back. I'm the spring, really, my hand, and
Yeah.
I
Well, you're
control
just
that.
that strong.
But I'm also using this for hammer.
Really?
A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, I'm hammering certain things
Well, there's a
with the
little
back
bit.
of this.
There's a little more of a back.
Why
to
don't you
it.
talk about a little bit more about why she needs side cut as opposed to pliers? I mean, a pair of pliers. handy.
Pliers are definitely. I mean, you definitely need the strength. These are a good gripped set of cutters, and there are smaller ones if you want. One without the spring. These are with the spring, but either way, it's a matter of just having a better grip. And again, you have the little needle pliers on the edge there, which you can grab the staples or tacks, and get them out. Hopefully, in one shot. These, I mean, I like the
Like the
it's
grip
always-
on them.
I like the grip. It's always these have a pretty good grip. So it's something to really, when you start learning, you're starting out like that, you kind of start learning your techniques and how to get through the tacks and the staples, and just to making sure that the piece of furniture that you're doing is clean, basically, of all the debris. And these I think are pretty good. I mean, you like them without. Either way is fine by me.
Yeah. I guess the other you're done talking
Yes.
about that. So the other question she had, Jimmy, is she says, "Is 14 yards of fabric enough for this project?" Right. I'm going to give you this. I want you to let's show it again, and let's have Jimmy look at it to see what he thinks about 14 yards of fabric.
Oh.
Looking at that, how many yards do you think that would take, Jimmy? If you just break it down. Remember we talked about how to break
Oh, we
it down.
did this. This is like the idea of the settee.
Yeah. How many yards did you get on that?
I think it was between 10 and 12.
I think that would be too much, even on that. The 14
Well, I think
yards.
we had the 10. I put 10 because I was expecting more, being on the safer side.
You probably put in. You got 10. I think I probably told you 8.
Okay.
And 8's high, but 14 yards on that is way too much.
Well, you know what? When you look at how much you actually have, I mean, this is the part that can be kind of intimidating, because you're looking at just it as it is, knowing you have the back, but then you have the outer back, but then you also have the cushion.
Yeah. Why don't you? Is that of a loose cushion or is that an upholstered seat?
That's a loose cushion.
So when you look at that, if you look at it, piece it out like you just did in your
Right.
head. Go piece the cushion, add the yardage for that, and then add the rest of it to see what you come up with. And you could talk it out if you want.
I mean, I'm going by the experience with the settee, and you're telling me we went about 8, and I was thinking 10, and I probably did for the sake
Right.
of looking at it again the way I looked at it, just saying it right now, with the front of it, with the wing, with the arms, but also the back of it, and again the cushion, and there's a little bit of a trimming on the bottom as well.
Right.
So I mean, again, it's always good to be safe and sorry, but again, starting out knowing how to measure and what you can.
So you touched on a good point. There's probably 2 yardage estimates. One would be for a DIY person, knowing that you might have a lot left over or some left over, and the
Right.
other one is professionally. So professionally, when I'm looking at any piece of furniture, I must be competitive with other people who are giving it. Sometimes people come to me. I'm the 3rd upholsterer that's given them an estimate. So if my labor's high, but my fabric is more of a conservative number, I might get the job because of that. So, but for DIY people, like for Sonia, if she wants to get 14, that's fine. She might be thinking she's going to make a lot of mistakes. That's fine. But when I look at that piece, I look at the cushion is 3 yards at the most. The inside back is 1 yard. The inside arm's another yard, so that's 5, right? The outside 6, and then the outside arm 7, and then the piping and the welting, I'd say another yard and a half, 7, 8. I would say 8 or 9 yards professionally for that.
Okay.
Maybe even 8. Just
Well, You should say to her, cause do you have a YouTube video on measuring?
Yes, we do. Patrick, what is that YouTube video? I mean, he might not know because that's unfair. But we have one on how to measure fabric, right? We use the board for that, remember?
Oh, we've done that plenty of times.
We've done it a couple of times.
Okay.
Want me to
So-
update you here?
Yes.
So Malcolm says, well, let me go back a little further. Randy says, I do my cambric at 1/4 inch.
There you go.
Okay.
Malcolm says, pneumatic tools are stronger, longer lasting, and easier to repair.
Yeah.
Better to buy a cheaper pneumatic gun than an expensive electric.
There you go. Good
Okay.
advice.
Sarah tried the electric and the manual stapler too. Can't find the tight spaces like you can with the pneumatic.
Yep.
Randy says, my advice on side cutters is to get old and well-used pair.
Yes.
Less chance of cutting the staple.
Yeah, because they're not really used for wire cutting, are they?
No.
They're used for taking the staple and twisting them out.
Yeah, well, once you understand what you really have to do, and you're going to find the technique that's going to work for you, at least 2 or 3 different techniques because you will break a few, and then you're like, oh, let me try to.
Some of the best treasures in upholstery are the old tools you find sometimes.
Oh, I know.
In the piece, I found an old regulator once. I found an old hammer. I have to be honest. I don't know what happened to them, but they're really so well. You could feel how well worn. You know, you put them in your hand, they just
They have been
melt
broken
you.
in, seriously broken in.
So Jimmy, this is the segment where you read the YouTube, and there's a lot of them, Jimmy, and you could skip over the ones that compliment you if you want, or you can read the compliments. There's a lot of compliments in there.
Oh, God almighty.
But do the best you can.
This is from Randy.
Speaking of Randy,
Kevin, quick question. Do you know of any hypoallergenic foam? I have a client who's extremely allergic to polyurethane foam and would like all the foam in their existing padded headboard replaced with something else.
Ooh.
Client suggested cotton.
a cautionary tale. Go
I'm
ahead.
thinking rubberized hair as a base and then cotton on top of that, unless you have some other suggestions.
I'd be careful, Randy. I'd be careful with this one because my experience is that, first of all, there's no such thing as hyperallergenic foam. That's straight from the horse's mouth, my supply. I called them on this.
Okay.
Right, I wanted to see. And I see out there, if you put that in there, hyperallergenic foam, on the Google, you're probably going to find somebody that says it is. But if they're allergic to polyurethane, I don't know. I mean, the latex is a replacement, I suppose, but latex has chemicals in it too. Everything has chemicals in it, Jimmy. And the
Yes,
rubberized horsehair is a synthetic. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well,
Remember,
some
this
may
is their
have more-
bedding.
Does some of the foam have more chemicals than others? Different brands. would
Uh,
have?
yeah, but they're all polyurethane based.
Okay.
And I think that you have to be real careful here, Randy, because this is their sleeping area. So they're going to be spending 10 hours at least, or 8 to 10 hours, with their head right on this. And if they're allergic to anything else in the room with something that you made as new, you're going to get blamed.
Well, how would cotton work? I mean, well, you'd have to have a deep.
Cotton is treated too. It's bleached. So
Okay.
you have to be careful. Is there anything that's 100... Excuse me for a sec. Sorry. Is there anything that's 100% natural?
No, but in the case what Randy's saying about rubberized horsehair, and then building on that with say a layer or two of cotton, or is that too much?
Well, I mean, if he's going to do it, I don't think I would use the rubberized horsehair.
Could you use all
The
cotton?
problem with rubberized horsehair is it makes kind of like a crunchy sound. So I don't like using it for those purposes.
Okay. But-
As far as the batting, he's trying to overcome the batting issue. So maybe horsehair is the way to go.
Well, you wouldn't use a large piece covering the whole area. Maybe a smaller horsehair and kind of build.
Oh, you
with
could
that.
do 2 layers of horsehair to get the 2 inches or 1.5 inches.
Okay.
And then make up the rest with the cotton, and then use a cotton muslin over that. And I would, if I were you, Randy, take your customer through the process to make sure that they understand what you're using. And also, the wood, be careful of the wood.
Yes. Because you're
So-
gonna need to staple everything in. I mean,
Right.
the horsehair anyway.
Right. Jimmy, I'm going to let you...
Hold on, Sonia's here now.
Okay.
She says, when it comes to 22 gauge staples, is it 3/8 crown, 3/8 leg for most pieces, or is it 3/8 crown or 1/2 leg?
Say that again. I'm not sure what she's saying. Say that
When it
again.
comes to 22 gauge staples,
Yeah.
is it 3/8 crown, 3/8 leg? Or is it 3/8
Oh,
crown?
I see what she's saying. No, it's the prong size. It's how deep it goes in. The quarter inch is quarter inch into the wood. A 3/8 inch into the wood. A half inch is a half inch into the wood. I think that's what she means. The size, the gauge is the same on all three, right, Jimmy?
Yes.
Which is the width. The width is the same on all three, so that your gun can be used for all three staples. That's kind of cool. I never thought of that, but I guess if the manufacturers of the guns were smart, they'd make a separate gun for every staple, right, Patrick?
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Are we caught up with the questions and answers on there?
Yep.
Everybody's fascinated with Jimmy's reading. He does a good job reading.
Yes, I should have like we can build a fire here. I can have a smoking jacket.
Right.
Yes, and our Tuesday reading, or rather Monday reading, was we can do a mystery. One week we can do a mystery. We can do a
Jimmy, you're the cure for insomnia. I think that we
yeah
could
yeah.
tell people.
I get that a lot.
We could tell people to when they're watching you to have turkey and heavy gravy
Yes,
and
yeah.
wine. And Jimmy, you'll be
And-
out in 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. Go on to the next one. Sorry for all our friends with insomnia. That's a terrible thing. I've suffered from insomnia before.
You have.
It's terrible.
I'm sure your wife suffers from boredom too. Oh,
All right, that's a good one for you.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Now let's get to business.
Yeah. So this. God Almighty, will we ever get through this? How to upholster 1860s Part 6 double piping. Fascinating. This is from Words to Contemplate and Assimilate.
Oh.
So, fascinating. Well done. I have a project piece that needs to end with decorative nail tacks. It's a bed frame top and bottom. Bottom is curved around on both sides from the late 19th century that I found at a thrift store for $50. Someone painted painted the silk fabric, so I'm going to reupholster it. Your videos will help me tremendously, so thank you. I'm a novice and very nervous about it, but I will try. I wish I could send you pictures. I hope you do. Keep up the videos, absolutely fascinating.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We have a video or two on how to put decorative nails in, which you would think, you just hammer a nail, but it's more to it than that, Jimmy.
Well, I mean, the projects I've done, it's not just 5 or 10 of them. It's more like, I think, 150 to 200 per
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, you did a big one there, didn't you?
Yeah, the last one for the client, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, this is easy." And you're moving along, and you're not thinking about it. But then when I had finished it, and because it had gone around the entire, basically the whole chair,
Yeah.
so there was a good 200 or 300 decorative tacks.
And that's takes a lot of patience. What's the next one you got there?
The next one is like the redesigning a saddle seat from springs to foam.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from Catalog? How do you pronounce that? I want to get it right. I don't want to insult anybody.
Chattelate.
Okay.
I think it's a play on words.
Okay.
I'll let you read that.
It's basically, it was like the idea of replacing the strings, So
Saddle seats shouldn't have springs. It's it's contrary to logic. When you think of an upholstered seat, you're not thinking crown. First of all, you're thinking crown.
okay,
You're not thinking saddle.
okay,
Does that make sense?
okay.
You're going this way with the springs, but
Okay.
a saddle goes this way. So it's a contradiction, and that's what that was about. That's what they're commenting
Okay.
on.
The Upholstery Show Live Happy New Year. This is from Real Deal 80. Do you know where I can get used upholstery sewing machine with a walking foot that won't break my bank account?
Yeah, I'd be careful with any used machine because sewing machines kind of like they fit the personality of the person who's used it for a long time.
Well, the only thing, I've seen a few on Facebook community.
Yeah.
But again, with that said, if this is your first time buying one, I would definitely try to get somebody to go with you, only because if you don't know what you're getting into, you don't know, again, how old the machine is, how
Right.
long, how many, there are machines that people use 3 or 4 times a year. there are some that use literally every day.
Well, yeah. I mean, the
You know?
Juki, I swear by the Jukis. I mean, I don't mind saying the brand name because I like them so much. And little plug for that company. I mean, I'm totally sold on it.
Now, how
But-
much would something like this cost today?
I can't remember, Jimmy.
Okay.
But, you know, I'd caution people on some of the other machines, even the Singers, the old Singers,
Mm-hmm.
because those machines might have been in a shop for 50 years with the same upholsterer
Yes.
or seamstress.
Right.
And they know every little quirky thing about those machines. And those machines have a lot more going on them than the newer machines do.
Right.
So you really have to, unless that person is talking to you and telling you the quirky parts of the machine, oftentimes that's not the case.
Well, I mean, the thing is today, too, so many sewing machines have much more than it did 20 years ago, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you can do literally,
Well, now you're getting into computerized and
Yes.
stuff like that. I don't like those either. The Juki is a very simple machine, a very well-made machine. Unfortunately for Singer, what they did with this company, which I have a little bit of a problem with this, is that they reverse engineered the Singer machines,
Mhm.
and they came up with a better design. And the biggest thing they came up with was an internal lubrication system on the Juki,
oh,
so that now in most of the Singers, you're oiling from the top
I
in
remember my
about
mother
three
had a
places.
Singer for years.
Problem with that is you oil on fabric isn't always a good idea.
No, you got to kind of
So
remember.
these get no oil whatsoever on the top, none, because it's all self-oiling. That was the biggest thing. But there were other things that they improved on
Okay.
and simplified, honestly. But Singer was around for 100 years, and everybody loved. That's the only
My
thing that
mother
people
had
use.
my mother
Yeah.
had one that was the when she passed away, I took it thinking I was going to get something for it. Like they had the simple, the machine itself, but also inside a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Well, of course, things
There's
being
so many of them, Jimmy. So many of
yeah.
them.
But
You know.
there was nothing that the woman said they don't even make anything like that anymore.
Right.
But again, I mean, if you are going to buy a used one, definitely, I would try to get all the knowledge you can from about the machine, and definitely look into what you want for what type of sewing machine you're going to be. I mean, if you're going to use it every day, that's one thing. If it's like lessons here and there, and I wouldn't invest too much money.
Yeah, Patrick, are there any comments that we should know? And
Nope.
that microphone is blinking. I don't know if that means
That's-
anything.
that's just me.
All right, Jimmy, you want to go on the next one?
Yeah, the Shellback, week 6, lessons 12, 11 and 12.
Starring Aquaman.
Yeah, starring Aquaman. That's you, baby. I must see more of this chair. The wood trim along the edges of the back are a nearly exact same conundrum I am facing with the chair I have decided to tackle, except I have it along the front edges of the wings on mine. There is 1-inch trough along the exposed wood where the previous upholstery was stapled with tack strip, but I am having trouble figuring out how I'm going to do it.
So you mean how she's going to remove it?
Yes.
So the best thing, sometimes the fabric is your best friend. If you can pull the fabric, if you can start rolling the fabric from one end with your side cutters or a pair of pliers. Side cutters for this technique might not be the best thing because you're going to cut the fabric. The idea is you're going to try to roll that away from the finished wood, not using, the temptation is use the finished wood for leverage. Everybody wants to do that. It's the easier way of doing it because there's leverage there.
Right.
It's hard to go on the other side and roll it away from the finished wood. If that doesn't work, you need to kind of like bring it down a little bit, get your focus down a little bit, use an awl, or an awl probably would be the best thing, I think. An awl to lift the staples and then use your side cutters one at a time. Use your side cutters. Sometimes you get stuck with the project. It takes a long time to strip, right, Jimmy?
Yes.
You've had those. What's the next one?
The next one is the how to apply decorative tacks,
Yeah.
and a quick thank you from 2 to 4 foot.
We were just talking about that video.
Yeah.
So that video is very useful, I think. So again, what we do is we try to, on the YouTube videos, I do the best I can in breaking things down. But with this man next to me, he doesn't let me skip over things. You ask the right questions. So the online classes, we talk about this a lot, right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
They have the best value, I think, even though they're paid classes. But
Well, there's always that little step that you want to say, this is how to do it. This little technique of how to overcome something.
Right.
Again, talking about the fabric.
Right.
And again, decorative tack and what's the best technique, and remember some of the basics like anything else. The next one is from Randy. This is the wingback class sneak peek from sewing. Looks like we have a cushion. We will have a cushion less as part of the wing chair. Just throwing this idea past you. How about Bernice doing some lessons on just cushion sewing?
That's what I was telling
It
you.
would be a nice addition to the online classes.
Yeah. We found that we had great chemistry. Bernice and Jimmy had great chemistry. What was that commercial where the chocolate and the peanut butter trucks hit?
Oh,
And
that's you're talking. Oh, that's right.
they
Okay,
hit one another and they became a candy. What was it? Come on. He doesn't know what I'm
I know
talking
what it
about.
Reese's?
Yeah, Reese's.
I was thinking of Betty White when she was out in the football field. She got tackled, but that's okay.
That's a
another
diva
time.
thing.
Oh, that's not a diva thing. That's a Milky Way, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Wasn't it? What the hell you?
So,
You gotta get
so
out there.
Here we go.
You live in the burbs and you're missing
Patrick,
so much.
say, hey, this toast burning. All right.
Yeah, the next one is fixing a popped button for free.
Oh, yeah.
This is from Chris Chess, and it says, "You're a legend. Thank you."
I'm a legend because I taught people how to do that with using just tools from their kitchen drawer. You can do almost anything. You could fly
What if you
a
have like a
space
bike
shuttle.
chain? What if you have like a bike chain? What are you gonna do then?
A bike chain? What is that? I was talking about a space shuttle. You could go to the moon with whatever you have in your kitchen drawer. Didn't you know that?
Oh, what'd you watch? Like, did you get the entire series of MacGyver?
You know, it's funny about that. People
Oh, well, let's not go into
people
that.
call upholsterers MacGyver. That's another name for an upholsterer.
Are
is
you
MacGyver.
kidding?
No, I'm not kidding you.
God Almighty. So this is the Upholstery Show Live. Happy New Year. Is there a shortage of furniture upholsterers in the industry?
Well, this is a good
This is
question.
Real deal 80.
This is a really good question because if I were a younger person right now
Yeah.
and I had to choose which area of upholstery I would go in, it would definitely be, he's going to be surprised when I say this, Patrick, it would be commercial. The commercial part of the industry is growing faster than the residential and has for a while. I mean, unfortunately, what's killed custom upholsterers or residential upholsterers are the furniture stores. And the unfair labor, the unbalance in the labor. I mean, we're talking about slave labor a lot of times. I don't care. I don't mind talking about this. But when they can ship a sofa in a crate from overseas and sell it for $900 or less, there's something going on because we know how many hours it takes to upholster a sofa.
Well,
We're not-
they have the master plan. Everything is laid out for them. There is no.
Well, that's another thing. You know, manufacturers, the techniques that manufacturers have do speed up the process of
right. So
manufacturing.
you could probably put a couch together inside of 3 hours, 4 hours.
But then you add slave labor or not paying you a labor force.
Right.
And now you're talking profit.
Yes, some serious profit. We all know how that works.
But it killed the industry. I'll give you an idea how bad it was. I won't mention the furniture store, but this is just in my lifetime, probably 30 years ago, 25 to 30 years ago. When I first started 40 years ago, upholsterers would go to the house. I mean, it would be the only thing that you would do with new furniture, new upholstered furniture. You hire an upholsterer. You wouldn't think about replacing it.
Right.
You'd always want to get it upholstered. So about 30 years ago, the new furniture store comes into town. This one town in particular that I'm thinking about in Massachusetts, they had 13 upholsterers. The new store comes in, 10 years they're all gone. All 13 of them. Those are custom upholsterers gone.
Yeah.
Because the price points, they just couldn't keep up with that labor.
Right.
With
You
that
can
cheap.
replace. You can get a new sofa for half the price.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't have a chance in that particular community. So, that's a shame because there's been a big. That's why these YouTube videos are so popular now because there's been a huge gap in the learning too. You know, when you have upholsterers that are closing down shop, they're not teaching their trade. They're they're moving on to something else.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's a question. It's a good question. There's still a opportunity out there for residential upholsterers. No, I want to totally discount that. But the growth area is commercial. So go ahead, Jimmy. What's the next one?
The next two are from Janine. One is the wingback clear sneak peek, and she says a great tip for beginner sewers to do your corners first. And the next one is from her also regarding the Upholstery Live Happy New Year show. The great Q&A today, fun fun. Plus, I learned so much about scissors that's useful. Yes to more Bernice.
See, she's popular. I
Oh.
hope you don't mind, Jimmy. She's taking
Well,
the kind of over the spotlight.
I plan
there.
on moving down to Aruba and starting a franchise down there. What are the franchise fees?
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm sunning myself.
But it would be Broadway Upholstery 2. You would be 2. This
Yeah.
is not, we only have 1. What's the next one?
The next one is from, this is the wingback, again, sneak peek chair. This is from Leslie. Already picked up a tip. What about a video on machine maintenance? Is that something you could do?
Bernice, why don't you chalk that one down, Patrick? Because Bernice would be really good at that. She
That'd be
knows
cool,
the
yeah.
machines frontwards and backwards.
Well, you know what? I could bring in mine, which is a very simple hand. There's definitely no furniture with mine, and she could probably make the comparison.
Yeah,
About.
yeah,
If
that
you
would
guys
be
wanna
that would
do
be a
that.
good YouTube video, Patrick.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So what's the next one,
Do I
Jimmy?
get paid for that?
You get a free tune-up on your machine.
Oh, okay.
So there's a
Okay.
$50 value
I
there,
was thinking
Jimmy.
of like maybe dinner. You know, you'd want it.
Maybe at a bazillion
You're
restaurant
going
somewhere.
too far now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So maybe a day old from. Okay. Anyway, stuffing and this one's the next one from Vicky, and this is the stuffing and cushion cheaply and effectively. Dude, that was an awesome advice. Thank you. Obviously.
That was a cushion. It's okay to fill a cushion with more filling, as long as it transitions well into the old filling, the new
Okay.
filling into the old filling. So we showed them how to do that.
Okay. All right. The next one is rather the no Q&A today. The Christmas show, a non-Christmas show, is omnipotent mama. Happy holidays, Kevin.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and
Erica.
Randy, the same thing.
It's Erica.
And this is Randy says Merry Christmas to you, Jimmy, and the rest of the Merry Band. See you in 2023.
We're like weeks behind on comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Jimmy had a lot of
obviously
them.
somebody is slacking there, Patrick. The next one is also from Paige, and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for making these videos. They are tremendously helpful.
That's good. We enjoyed making them and really do.
Yeah. This next one is the deconstruction of a dining room chair. So obviously, people. Now, how old was that?
That's an older one.
Okay. And this is from Rachel Hicks. I managed to learn something within the first minute. So far, so good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the next one is how to eight-way tie in upholstery. Where can I buy these springs and twine? It's
So
from the EU Studios.
We sell everything on Upholstery on Broadway, but I do want to make a comment about that video. That's really a happy story. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, you guys. Got a little bit of a chest cold. But one of the wonderful things about introducing Upholstery on Broadway to YouTube we did it in the beginning. You know, my son was interested in videography. I don't want to go too deep into why we did it, but in the beginning it was just kind of goofy and, you know, it was just, how old were you, Patrick? You were young when we started.
No, it's
How old were you?
18.
18, but you know, you were young. And we didn't know where it was going to go. We just thought we'd try. It was a little goofy, you know, kind of. But then we started hearing from people. And one of the stories, and one of the first ones we did was the 8-way tie, right, Patrick? So
That was the first one, I'm pretty sure.
So that one, we heard from overseas in England, a person who had a shop, and they had a man who was looking for work but was inexperienced. And they said, well, if you watch this video and learn how to do 8-way ties, we'll hire you to do it, and we'll take a look at your work, and we'll hire you. You're going to have to just, here's a chair, put the video up, and just get good at it. And he got really good at it, and he was hired. Now, there were other difficulties with him too, but
Right.
the fact is that, I mean, look at the difference. So we started hearing these stories, and, you know, we'd like to fool around the question and answer. But on the YouTube, we got serious.
Well,
And
you have
the
to.
online
I mean,
classes.
You're given what's the maximum length and time with regard to a lesson? 30 minutes?
Well, on YouTube, Patrick, what's the average? They tell you to maintain a certain average.
10 to 15.
Okay.
That's a long time for them, isn't it? And one of the things that we noticed, we have a great retention rate on that, right, Patrick? I haven't looked at that in a long time. We had like a 6-minute retention rate, which is really good.
And
Now-
speaking of videos, Sarah asked, any videos classes on tufted Turkish chairs yet? And we were just talking
Oh,
about this, Jimmy. We want the next project to be tufted.
We want to.
But a Turkish chair is different than that other question
How
that
so?
they had.
How was that?
Turkish chairs are the hardest chairs to do.
She says tufted and Turkish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
they
what-
always are tufted.
Oh,
Turkish
really?
chairs are always tufted.
Why? What is the difference? Explain that to me, because I don't.
Well, one is a fixed frame with wood. The other ones are made out of the most of the wood above the bottom base is all metal.
Oh God.
So that means everything has to be stitched, hand stitched. The burlap, the webbing, the cotton, not the cotton, but the edge roll, the muslin, and the fabric. Everything has to be hand stitched.
Wow.
And the only way really to do it is with the tufting on something like that. It's easier to tuft it than it is.
Well, we're thinking of, Patrick and I have talked about again, you know it, as a couch. So we're going to
Yeah.
see.
Well, you know what would be a really
Well,
good.
there you go, Jim. Try to find a tufted Turkish chair.
Oh God.
That'd be
my-
pretty hard.
That'd be something for your father
Well,
to do. My God, I'd have to be sitting back.
I don't think I've ever seen a Turkish sofa. First of all, they're always chairs. But you know, somebody was asking about a deep French tufting, and that would be interesting too. We had one we delivered. Remember that Cambridge one?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell people about that delivery?
Oh God, we couldn't get in. The blue one.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So Kevin and I had this delivery one day in Cambridge, in a condo. Just a narrow doorway is all it was, and this particular style of couch,
Well,
as I'm going to call it.
Yeah, it was hard.
But the very high back, fixed legs, and a small seat, probably about 14 inches in the depth of the seat. And Kevin and I, for 2 hours, literally 2 hours, tried to maneuver ourselves this way, that way.
Yeah, but we had to go. The building didn't help us either. I mean, we had to go downstairs, and then take the elevator to the first floor, walk down another stairwell to another elevator. It was crazy.
Oh, I know, but
And you know, we never anticipated that with that, but we also had to be very careful. It's like handling a dozen eggs. One wrong move, and you know, all the work goes down the drain. What's the next one, Jimmy?
the next one
Okay,
is
a couple of questions first.
yes.
So Sarah followed up, said springs in the arms and the back of that chair.
Forgot about the springs.
Yeah. And it's a metal frame one.
Yeah, it's an original.
Leslie says, I learned how to do the 8-way tie from your videos. Very grateful.
Is that the same person?
No, Leslie says.
Like back up to the other one.
Which one?
Who was the one with the Turkish chair?
That was Sarah.
So Sarah, I mean, one of the a little bit of relief is that you don't need to 8-way tie low gauge or light gauge springs
No, the
on the.
8-way tie comment was from somebody else.
I know, but I just want to let her know that she can use a smaller twine. She doesn't have to use a ruby twine, and she doesn't have to 8-way tie the springs. And I know there's somebody else had the 8-way tie that was before, but then there's another one after that. What did they say? I'm sorry, Patrick.
Leslie said, I learned how to do the 8-way tie from your videos.
Good.
That's good. And then I knew someone was going to ask this, and I just told you about it. Randy says, how's the ribbon chair turning out?
Oh well.
We've had a hiatus from the ribbon chair for some reason.
Well,
we did part one, and
The next one is the patterns. But Patrick, we don't have the fabric.
well, so that's the customer. We're kind of waiting for the customer then.
We need the fabric because that's the next step is to cut patterns. We
So
don't
at least we
usually,
have a good reason.
yeah, we
why
do
it's
have a
been
good
on
reason.
hold.
The customer's dragging their feet. We find that sometimes. You know, it's not a priority.
It's not a
Jimmy.
lazy upholsterer, which is
Which I thought it was.
What's the next one, Jimmy?
only 2 left. This is regarding the Shellback Week 5 lessons 9 and 10. Which sewing machine do you recommend for a starter upholstery business?
Definitely a Juki. The way right over here, Patrick. Can you pan over to the Juki?
Let's see.
It's the serial number, Jimmy. Can you read that serial number near your phone right there?
It's DDL 5550N.
So this machine is what people use to train people how to sew.
Really?
It's a beginner's machine.
Oh, I should have bought this one then.
Yeah, it's an easy machine to use. There's a reverse on it. There's a forward, obviously. You could change the feet. I only use a zipper foot and a double well foot for that machine. Some people might use a different machine. But for me, that's all I need. Now, my Bernice mentioned last week she had 5 machines, did she say?
I'm gonna hang out with her. We gotta find out where she lives.
She
And
has a
we have to
machine.
take care of her mom. Remember?
Yes. She has a machine for every function, I think.
Yes, and she mentioned about the scissors too.
And she has different scissors. She's smart. She knows.
She's a whiz bang.
She's a real study in everything that she does. But machines, I only have that one because I'm a stitcher. I'm not a seamstress. We talked about that last week.
Right.
So what's the next one then?
Well,
Jim?
next one is the last one. This is repairing a popped or broken button from David. He said, "What excellence!" Basically,
Good.
we did agree.
You know, usually when
people love the
they love those little fix-it things,
Yeah.
and that's what that's
it's
called.
The
It's called
detailed
fix-it.
points.
But I think when I get comments like that, I think it's mainly because they save themselves a lot of money, and that's great. I think that's
Well,
great.
I think also people get intimidated with the simple things. Say, "Oh my God, I spent a simple, twist of this, and it ends up being 2 hours." They want to know
Yeah.
the simple things and best technique of how to approach it. And I think that can be the intimidating part.
Jimmy, would you sit tight while Michaela? Would you like to read some of these? We don't have many. It's slowed down a little bit, you guys. So if you have work in the New England, Boston area, don't forget to send it our way.
That doesn't sound desperate.
I think it's just people are away, but it did slow down a little bit. So Michaela's going to read some estimates.
Before you do that,
Sure.
there's a few more that trickled in.
Sure.
I didn't go back. I actually missed one from Sonia. She said, "What is the standard upholstery tack size? There seems to be a lot of options."
6 ounce. 6 ounce is a universal tack. 3 ounce. Randy
And
mentioned.
Randy, I didn't even notice. Randy already beat you too.
Oh, good.
Number 6
Yeah.
tack is good for basting,
Yep.
tack,
Basting.
and then 12, 14 for webbing.
Yep. And the 3s, Randy mentioned that he uses a 1/4 inch staple for cambric, but a lot of times we use a 3 ounce tack if you're not using the staples for cambric.
She also says, Sonia, "I'm curious if you've gotten to upholster some unusual antique chairs like a Duchess Brise, Brisee, or a conversation chair."
A conversation chair years ago, I remember doing a phone chair. We did a barbershop chair. I think
Balloon chair.
a balloon chair. Yeah,
chair.
balloon chair was it.
All
That's
these names are.
you guys should check that out. A French balloon chair.
What was that like?
I don't think we actually have one. It was years ago before we did the YouTube video.
At
Well,
one point, you actually floated away.
it looked like, Jimmy, these were side chairs.
Okay.
And the springs were huge. The springs were like this big. And they were side chairs. But it was made to look like a hot air balloon. But sitting on it,
And that was the style?
you felt like you were sitting on a balloon. You'd be going this way and this way. But it was a French design. But it looked beautiful. It was purely aesthetic. I can imagine these in a palace and nobody's sitting on them. They were just to be seen.
You just wow, breathtaking.
Is there another comment before we get to Michaela, Patrick? Did you
The
say?
last one was from Randy, who said, "Just remember, for upholstery, you need only a straight stitch."
That's right. That's as simple as that. Did you hear what Randy said?
Yes.
You need
Straight stitch.
a straight stitch. I mean, we can hand. That's a good point. All right, is that it, Patrick?
Yep, we're caught up.
All right, Michaela. Now you're on, Michaela. We're waiting all this time for Michaela.
All right, so there's just 2.
Okay.
And they're both from Jimmy.
They're both from January 8th.
Okay.
It'll say Jill.
Oh, this is a cautionary tale. You guys are gonna like this one. Cautionary tale. If you ever, this is what you'd call. You know how Captain Ahab had. What was the name of that whale that Captain Ahab was always trying to, what he was going after, or was his nemesis, Michaela? Moby Dick. Is that,
I think so.
remember his nemesis? This is an upholsterer's nemesis. This X bench. These are really hard to do. I've done them. They take forever. So you really have to make sure that when you price it out, I mean, look at all the different pieces that need to be upholstered. It's like upholstering dollhouse furniture.
All
Tried that once
So
too,
this
and I
is
didn't like
this
it.
is what she says. Hello, I am looking at getting an estimate to reupholster 2 of my X benches.
There's always two, too. It's always come in double trouble.
Can you provide a cost as well as how much fabric would be needed if I provided the fabric with a repeat?
And with
I'm
the repeats,
also yes, I'm also looking to have welting in a different fabric. Thank you.
wow. Well, she just added cost to that. Now, there's another thing, you guys. A lot of fabric these take because these are done in rectangular panels to get the bias cuts. They require a lot of fabric. And now she's thrown in a contrasting and a pattern.
Well,
This is like my worst nightmare.
luckily she hasn't purchased the fabric yet, so maybe we can sway her into buying our own.
She definitely cannot get a pattern fabric that needs to be matched. You can tell her that. She needs advice. You can't put patterns on something like this. It never works. The desire of a piece of furniture like this is in the frame. It's an X frame. She even said that. It's got cross rails on it and everything. That's the unique part of this. That's what you're going to pay the labor for, to show that off. Patterns are only going to take away from that, right?
So the most that she could have is something like that's already on there, like a stripe.
Oh, she can't use a stripe. Stripe would be a disaster. The only place she could use a stripe on that is with the contrasting piping, and we could bias cut the stripe to make a nice twill look. But she can't use stripe. The very most she can use is going to be an overall pattern. And there's problems even with that. But even with this one, if you could see, that's not lined up. If you could see, if your eye on the top to the border there, that's not lined up at all. And that's probably new from the manufacturer, I would imagine. That fabric that's on there is a bad choice. So she needs to, it either has to be an overall pattern or a solid fabric. She can get her color in the contrasting piping, but the body has to be specific. And we're talking $1,500 labor each. Michaela's eyelids just went up. Eyebrows. Because that's a lot of money, isn't it, Michaela? It looks like a lot of money for that little bench, right? But it's all labor, you guys. And you're blinking up here, Patrick.
Yeah, we're almost out.
How many minutes?
And how many yards of fabric each?
She needs, on that one there, she needs 5 yards of the body
5 minutes.
each. We got 5 minutes, you guys, because the battery's going, which is about perfect timing. And she needs, on the contrasting piping, she needs 3 yards. 3 yards of the contrasting piping each. I'm not gonna go cheap on this one, or skimpy on this one. And we got one more, Michaela?
Yeah, just 1 minute.
We had a lot of business to do, Jimmy, between
job.
mostly from the YouTube, but we're not even gonna get to a chance to.
I'm gonna switch this out really quick.
I'm just
Sorry.
gonna switch this out. I think it's important because we wanna end.
The mic's still going, so you can still
Mike is
talk.
still going. You've lost the video,
The
right?
best part of the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
You sure that's on? Because I don't see the red
Yeah,
light.
done.
Okay. So,
What were you saying?
I don't think we're gonna get to Jimmy. I wanted Jimmy to talk a little bit about his chair, but
That's
we did it
okay.
during the.
We'll do it next week. We can talk about
You still
it.
gonna come in for the
Next
Q&A,
week?
even though you?
No, I'll take next week off. I'll try to stay home and do what everybody else
Why don't you
does.
watch from home and then you could be part of the comment section?
Maybe I can make.
So did he even mention that Jimmy finished today?
Yeah, we did. He finished. He's sitting on his chair. That's finished.
I'm ready to
So
like.
let's throw the word out there. If somebody sees, say what you're looking for the next class, and maybe if somebody could point you who's local, could send you a picture of something they find.
I was thinking again. You and I had spoken about a couch. So
Right.
But
And Tufts, if somebody there has mentioned Tufting. That's what we wanna do.
Definitely a double lesson. Dad would be. We would be definitely busy with that.
So if anybody out there, right, can point you in that
Yeah.
direction, we'll do that for the next class in the spring.
Yeah,
We'll be filming that. So.
yeah. We'll definitely have to pay Dad for that one.
But
Dinner here and there at Jimmy's, right?
Michaela's doing the next class. So people can look forward to that.
That
As soon
will be
as
fun.
we need to figure out what she's gonna do.
Yeah.
So. So we got 2 new classes
Well,
in the
like I
works.
say, your Facebook community will give you a lot of ideas because they have the different styles of chairs, and it's always good to have, you know. So, whatever
Yeah.
you guys decide to do,
I know you're always looking forward to new stuff. So
yeah, it's fun.
my other option is, I don't know if I mentioned this live, was to get Bernice to do a class with you. And that's what Randy was talking about. So he'd
Yeah.
probably take that one. That's a cool.
Again,
that'd be a
she
cool
is-
idea.
She is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know. She doesn't teach, does she?
Oh yeah, she teaches bridge. We mentioned that. I mean, she teaches. She has an online.
She has 2 slipcover classes.
2 slipcover
yeah.
classes.
But no sewing only class. But I mean, a lot of that is sewing.
yeah,
She's on the machine for
Yeah,
most
but
of it.
Yeah.
she has it down to the finer points and the really, again, it's always that little bit of a point to be made with regard to putting something together to make sure that it's right.
It sounds like Randy was suggesting maybe something more just sewing and cushion. Focusing
Yes,
on
I
the
mean,
cushion.
I think
yeah.
that, you know, you look at that, the settee here in this one, you say, okay, how do we do this? How do we approach the cushions? And some of the basic things that definitely that Bernice could be.
Malcolm says stitcher training.
Yeah.
He says.
So you got another one there, Michaela? One
Yeah,
more?
this one's Hillary.
Hillary?
Yeah,
Where's that?
that's right underneath it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we get these, you guys.
So
Want to read that?
she says new cushion and put new fabric on chair. I have fabric.
Yeah. So we
Oh,
don't
well,
like
that
to
means we'll be upping the price.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this, you guys, first of all, people don't know the terminology. That looks like an upholstered seat to me, so sometimes you have to weed that out, but I'm not even gonna go there. I mean, if you wanna mention, that is an upholstered seat, a fixed seat, you could say.
Yeah.
Because when you say upholstered seat, they could still interpret that as a cushion. You know, a cushion's a loose, in my mind, a loose cushion. You could say
So
this is
new
a...
foam is what she
Oh,
means.
is that what she said?
I would assume that's what she means.
Oh, okay.
Because
So
she says new cushion, so I would assume that would be the filling.
So there's an interpretation a lot of times from the public when they don't know, you know, they're only using their own terminology, right? So we have to kind of weed it out like that, which we just did, I believe. So this is a restoration. It's not just a reupholstery. So we need to charge $325 labor to restuff, right? We can use that term if you want. And then usually there's a double piping in there, so maybe 1.5 yards of fabric. Usually we like to use our own fabric, and then you could talk about the upcharge when we don't.
All right, so the $325, which would include the new stuffing or the new foam / stuffing.
Right.
All right. And you said 3 yards?
Yes. 1.5 yards.
Oh, okay.
Is that battery still good?
That one's brand new.
Oh, okay.
So we good? I think we're good.
I think we're done now.
Well, what would be the upcharge price?
20% on that, so $60. You just have $60. So Jimmy, it's good to have you finished another project. How many is this? 4? 3 or 4? How many? Patrick would know.
Oh, let's go all the way back to the ottoman,
Oh
which
yeah.
is the very first one.
Yeah, which
The channel back, the settee.
The
and
settee,
this
the
was 4.
I think about 5.
you didn't do the chub chair. Oh, it's a crafts chair you did.
Yes, that's 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I think
this is 5.
I believe 5.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? How many hours of video is it's really incredible. So I think I'm gonna let Jimmy. So get a little.
You're getting a little horse there.
Yeah, get the hell out of
I'll
here.
let Jimmy close us out.
You're ruining the
As you cut in
show.
front of my Oscar-winning moment, Kevin and I want to thank everyone for coming into this humble abode this week. Next week, Kevin will be here, I think, alone.
Well, I'll be here. Does that count for something?
Patrick will obviously be running the show from behind the scenes. So hopefully everyone will have a good week, great weekend, and see you next time.
And we haven't seen the last of you, right, Jimmy?
No.
You promise?
I'm still faithfully employed here. I don't know when I'll be ever getting out of this pre-release program they've been putting me on, so that's fine.
Malcolm says you need your own bench in your shop.
I do.
In the
yeah,
shop. Your own area.
I do.
Yeah.
I've been asking Kevin.
Can we put you out on the sidewalk? Does that work?
Yeah, actually that's where Kevin first saw me, so there
He's
you
gone.
go. But everyone have a good night. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Cool. So you're down to do it.